Hi guys, welcome back to Read with Rithwik. And today, this story is called Dancing the Night Away by Geraldine McCaughrean. Dancing the Night Away, illustrated by Caroline King, read by Rithwik. Chapter 1. Dishes, dishes. Dishes everywhere, but not a bite to eat. Florida, the maid, had to do all the washing up, but she never sat down to eat. Mr. Stint was too lazy to do the work herself. Her daughter Grizzle was too spoiled, so Flora had to cook all the meals and serve them. Flora had to clean all the dishes and wash them. Mr. Stint did not even pay her. She did not even say thank you. No, Mr. Stint had a heart as hard as a flint. Mr. Stint and Gristle hated Flora. They hated her because her heart was warm and kind. Mr. Stint and Gristle loved only money. And money is a cold-hearted thing to keep in your heart. One day they said to Flora, "All these years you have lived in our house, and you never paid us a penny for rent." "I never have had a penny," said Flora, which was true. "Well, go out and earn some. Don't come back until you can pay 1 golden pound." So away went poor Flora. Thought she had nowhere to go, no one to look after her, and no one to hold her hand. That's sad. Chapter 2. Who will pity a pot? She walked until she came to an old broken-down shack. There outside stood one old bucket and one dirty iron cauldron, red with rust. No, close up. It was not rust red. The pot was red hot, and out of it came a voice like crackling twigs. Who will pity a pot? I'm hotter than hot. I have no daughter to pour on cool water. Oh, who will help? Who? Is it you? Is it you? Me? Said Flora, stepping closer. She peeked inside the cauldron. There was nothing inside but dirt, years and years of dirt. It was the pot itself that was speaking. "Water, water," it whispered. At once, Flora picked up the bucket and ran down to the river. The water at the edge was muddy, so she waded out deep. Then she scooped up water from the clear, cool middle of the stream. Flora hurried back and threw the water. Hiss! Over the red hot pot. Very nice. The cauldron gave a sigh of delight and danced on its 3 legs. Because she was a kind girl, Flora began to scrub the pot clean. While she worked, night came down. In the darkness, the cauldron chattered. I am the cauldron of the Welsing Walrock. Look, his magic is so full that it stains me like tar. Flora looked around her. Surely he does not live in that tumble-down shed. Things are not always what they seem, said the cauldron. Inside, the house is lovely, but don't go in unless you can talk your way out again. Keep safe. Go home. Keep safe. Go home. Oh, but I can't go home until I have earned £1, Flo explained. I must repay Mr. Stint. Well, then I shall tell you how to get a whole bucket of gold. But listen carefully and do just as I say. Or in the morning you will not be holding me. I shall be holding you. My master will cook you for his breakfast. Chapter 3. The Waltzing Walrock. Flora went over to the tumble-down hut. She pushed her shoulder at the sagging door. Cobwebs stretched. The hinges groaned. Surely this door has not been open for 100 years. But in went little Flora, clutching her courage like a bunch of flowers. The pork has spoken truth. The inside of the shack was very different from the outside. It was 13 times bigger, with 13 rooms and 13 doors. Each room was more beautiful than the last. The walls were lined with gold, glass mirrors, and the ceilings hung with lamps. There was a chandelier made from 1,000,000 tears. An invisible orchardess started playing on golden fiddles. The music was so shrill that the dogs began to howl all over the world. Flora gazed out around her in delight and amazement. She had never been inside a palace before. In the 13th room sat the Welsing Walrock himself. He was written spells in poison with the tip of his scorpion tail, and at the sight of Flora, he jumped. Come in, my dear. I have been waiting for you. The dancing cannot begin until I have a partner. I have been hoping for someone just like you. Give me your hand and let us dance. Flora curtsied. Thank you kindly, sir. For a bucket of gold, I will gladly dance with you. At once, the bucket in her hand was so full of gold that Flora had to set it down. "Now let the dancing begin," cried the waltzing Warlock. But Flora looked down at her ragged clothes. I'll tell you this question at the end. "Oh, sir, my dress! A gentleman like you deserves a pretty partner. The magic went... Oh, sir, my dress! A gentleman like you deserves a prettier partner. The magician went to his books to look up a spell. There was a flash of magic fire, and using the flames, he stitched a gown of fairy taffeta. Taffeta. What does that end? "Oh," cried Flora, "I never had a new dress before. Mr. Stint will not even buy me an apron. I never dreamed of wearing a Paris gown." Ooh, sounds interesting. The taffeta skirt swished deliciously. Very, very slow, Flora put the dress on. "Time is wasting," the Warlock cried. "Do let us dance." But Flora looked down at her feet. "Oh, sir, how can I dance with a fine gentleman wearing these worn-out shoes?" The Warlock frowned. He looked up a shoe spell, and flash! In a splash of silver, there stood a pair of scarlet shoes. La-la, aloha. Flora admired them for a long time. Then slowly, she slipped her feet inside. Now do you let us dance? Now, do let us dance, cried the waltzing Warlock, showing his teeth in purple grin. "Oh, but it's so hot, sir, I might faint without a fan to cool me." After the fan, she asked for gloves. After the gloves, she asked for a cloak. After the cloak, she asked for a ribbon. And after the ribbon, she asked for a comb. Then Flora spent a long, long time combing her pretty hair. The Warlock grew angry and impatient. He ground his teeth and clenched his fists. But every time Flora asked for something, he had to fetch it. His magic would not work until she danced with him. Now don't go thinking that Flora was greedy. No, don't go thinking that Flora was greedy. She had never asked for anything before. No, not in all her life. It seemed very rude to ask now, but the old iron pot had told her what to do because she had been kind and because it liked her. After the comb, she asked for a bracelet. After the bracelet, she asked for a silk stocking. After the stocking, she asked for a drink of metal snow from the mountains of Tibet. She asked for Turkish delight from Turkey and roses from Persia. She asked for perfume from Arabia and ostrich eggs from Africa, lightly boiled. It was difficult for a girl like Flora to keep on asking. She had never been given a present before. No, not in all her life. But on and on she asked because the old iron pot had told her to. Ooh. She asked for a banquet from barley. She asked for a glass coach from the land of fairy tales. Oh my. Black night was turning grey. Soon days would dawn. Flora was weary. She could think of nothing else to ask for. Fearfully, she joined hands with the waltzing warlock. His skin was lizard cold and scratchy. Slowly they began. Slowly they began to dance. Chapter 4. Flora comes home. Cock-a-doodle-doo! The first cock crowed. The waltzing warlock swore horribly. He stamped his foot, then disappeared. Flora's arms were empty. It was as if he had melted in the first ray of sunlight. Flora drove home in her glass coach. She looked like a queen as she waved to people in the street. The bucket of gold sat on the red velvet seat next to her. Flora took one gold coin from the bucket and gave it to Mr. Stint. All these years you have fed me on crust of bread. All these years you have dressed me in rags. I have added up all your kindness to me, and here is the money I owe you. Keep the change. Mr. Stint said, So did her demand? So did her daughter. Mr. Stint said, So did her daughter. How did you do it? Demanded Grizzle. How did you do it? Demanded Grizzle. So Flora explained. She told the tale of the old iron pot. She described the tumble-down shed and the magician inside it. She explained about asking him for all those presents. That's a lot of stuff he has to tell for the... This is a bit... very... naughty. And it is Chapter 5, Greedy Gristle. Away went Gristle, taking the glass coach without even asking. She drove until she found a shack. There was a cauldron standing at the roadside calling. Who will pity a pot? I am hotter than hot. I have no daughter to pour on cool water. Oh, who will help? Who? Is it you? Is it you? It's a pity apart. I feel like it's getting rude. Gristle was in a hurry to get her presents, so she only scooped up half a bucket of muddy water to throw on over the cauldron. Splat! "You have covered me in mud," groaned the old iron pot. "Won't you scrub me clean?" "What do you think I am? A skivvy like Flora?" "What do you think I am? A skivvy like Flora?" said Gristle. Into the shack went Gristle. She did not stop to admire the gold glass. Mirrors. She did not notice ceilings hung with lamps. She did not even glance up at the children made of a million tears. Soon I shall have a better palace than this," she thought. A bit rude. And this she thought. She did not even stop to listen to the orchards of golden fiddles. No, she ran straight through the 12 rooms until she reached the 13th. Then sat the waltzing warlock, scratching spells with one fingernail. Seeing Gristle, he jumped up. Come in, my dear. I have been waiting for you. The dancing cannot begin until I have a partner. I have been hoping for someone just like you. Give me your hand and let us dance." "Not till you give me a dress, a coat, a ribbon, a comb, a feast, a cloak, a fan, a bracelet, and this bucket full of gold." That's why it's called Greedy Gristle. Gristle marked them off on her fingers. She remembered every single present Flora had won. A muff, some shoes, and a drink with one single smelly spell. The warlock granted all her greedy wishes. "Anything else?" he asked. His dark eyes flickered with joy. Gristle racked her brain. But she could not think of.
Keep an eye on what you're reading.
Gristle racked her brains, but she could not think of anything. She had asked for it, and the whole night laid ahead. So she joined hands with the Waltington warlock. The golden fiddle shrilled, the room spun, and Gristle whirled into the warlock's hands. Chapter 6. I really rather not. Faster and faster they danced, till her new shoes wore through. The hands of her dress frayed into rags. Faster and faster they whirled, till her combed hair tangled and her ribbons came untied. Faster and faster went the dance, held tight into the warlock's arms. Gristle grew as hot as his old iron pot. In his arms, her fine clothes caught fire and burned away to ash. Where did the girl begin, and where did the warlock end? They were whirling too fast to know. At last, the Waltington Warlock slowed and stopped. In his arms, Grisel hung limp and lumpy. She had no breath left to speaking. The Waltington Warlock carried Grisel outside, meaning to cook her for his breakfast. That tastes good. But when he put her into the old iron pot, the pot was not hot. In fact, it was cold as a ship bell. At the bottom of the sea, the Warlock cried, "Come, pot, heat, it's time to eat." The cauldron shoveled its 3 iron feet. "I'd really rather not," said the iron pot. The Waltington Warlock ground his purple teeth. His cauldron had never argued with him before. He was tired and hungry after so much dancing. The brightness of the moon hurt his purple eyes. "Cook my breakfast," I say. "I say, or shall I fetch my book of spell and turn you into a coal bucket?" The old iron pot trembled so hard that it rang like a church bell, but it stayed as cold as winter. The Waltington Warlock twirled his knotty eyebrows and stamped his foot. "I shall heat you so hot that you'll melt on the spot," he hissed. Then he went back into the shack to fetch his magical book. He slammed the door so hard that the shack trembled, too. In the bottom of the old iron pot lay Grisel, like a handful of chicken bones. Grisel, surely nothing could save her, except perhaps Flora. Surely nothing could save her now, except perhaps Flora. Chapter 7. The Cauldron's Revenge. Because she was a kind girl, Flora had followed the glass coach on foot. She was afraid for Grisel. Now she came dancing along the moonlit road like a lick of flames in a red taffeta dress. Her red Santian shoes kicked up the dust. Kicked up. As soon as she saw the old iron pot plastered in mud, she guessed what happened. As soon as she saw Grisel lying in the pot, all ragged and scorched, she guessed what had happened. As soon as she felt the cold sides of the old iron pot, she guessed what had happened. Flora crouched down beside the cauldron and gave it a kiss. Then she began to polish it clean with a red taffeta dress, and as she worked, she whispered. The Warlock came out of his tumble-down shack and looked to the right and left. There was no one to be seen on the moonlit road. "I will give you one last chance," he told the cauldron. "I want to eat, so heat, pot, heat." The old iron pot shuffled its iron feet. "Dance with me, master, faster and faster, then I'll grow," said the old iron pot. Dance with you? Snorted the warlock. I have a good mind to tie your 3 legs together and throw you into the river. Dance with you indeed. You have 3 legs and all of them are left-footed. All the better to waltz with you, master, said the saucy pot. But as the warlock went to kick the pot, he saw something. He saw himself in the shiny sides of the cauldron. He saw his own reflection. His reflection looked back at him. Then it poked out its tongue. In a rage, the warlock grasped hold of the cauldron by its 2 big handles and began to lug it down to the river. But the pot began to dance. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 went its 3 iron feet. It walked quite well. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The pond spun the warlock round and round. Fast and faster they danced, in at the door of the shacks, through all the 13 rooms. They danced all the piles of the carpets and shook all the cuckoos of the clocks. The shrills fiddled played. The shrill fiddles played higher and higher until the strings broke. Music still streamed from the tips of the warlock's hair. He pressed his cheeks to the cauldron. They danced till the roof caught alight and the mirrors melted. They danced till the tears of the Chaldeans were all dried. They danced till the moon set and the bats went back to bed. They danced till the magician's robe was in tatters and his hooves were thin. They danced till the warlock himself was thin and unthread. The shacks were shaken into pieces, but the cauldron danced on and on. Chapter 8. Flora Travels. When at last the cauldron waltzed to a halt, the sun was up and there was nothing left on the whirling warlock. Only his scorpion sting laid on the sunlit road, as big as a baby rattle. A face peeped as big as a baby rattle. A face peeped over the rim of the cauldron. It was grim and grimy and green. I want to go home now, said Gristle. I don't feel very well. Not Flora. Flora never went home. Lazy Gristle and Mr. Stint had to do their own housework and cook their own meals. What a terrible job they made of it. Flora cooked too. She travelled the world into the glass coach with a shiny iron pot on the roof. She travelled the whole wide world, and father cooked at harvest supper and weddings. She cooked for circus crowds and ships full of sailors. She cooked on May Day and Midsummer Eves. She cooked rice puddings in the old iron pot, and anyone who tasted that pudding said it was the best ever made. I know that's true because I ate some, but I don't remember who did the washing up. the end. Thanks for watching so much. If you like that, smash that like button. We will see you next time. Goodbye. Ciao.